I vehemently disagree with everything the CK stood for. However, assassination was completely unacceptable and uncalled for. Are you saying that there are assassinations that are acceptable and called for? It's just an odd thing to say. It's just an odd thing to say, personally. But yeah, it shouldn't have happened. I think that's an easy thing to say. It shouldn't have happened. The reality of the situation is that it did. And as soon as it happened, the right on the House floor, the Republicans on the House floor stood up and immediately started blaming all the Democrats in there. The President of the United States said that we were the enemy and that this was all our fault. This was before we even knew who the dude was. The governor of Utah himself even stated that he prayed that it wasn't one of theirs, meaning it wasn't someone from Utah and it wasn't someone on the right. And even though the kid's party affiliation was no party affiliation, he was still raised by very conservative, whitey Christian MAGA, whose grandmother seemed to be insulted that anyone would think that anyone in her family was on the left, and that the mother said, well, he had become more leftist because he was more pro-LGBTQIA, and he was dating his roommate. And something tells me that the family was not very happy with that situation. Obviously, this kid, and he is a kid at 22 years old, had a very shitty life growing up and wasn't accepted by his family. The facts are, is before anybody even knew who the shooter was, they were calling for the green light. They were asking the President of the United States, there are videos all over this app, asking for the green light to drag their neighbors out because of this. Hell, the fact that there was another shooting the very same day at a school was glossed over for a rage baiter who threw his line in the water one too many times, baited his hook with rage, and then got surprised when one jumped in the boat with him. The facts of the situation are the two that went after El Presidente Taco and tried to take him out were both MAGA and on the right. The guy who took out CK was raised by MAGA and the uber conservative and the uber religious. Every other president living all detested and stated and condemned political violence. And the first thing that the sitting president said is that, well, it's all our fault. The blood was on our hands. We're so radical and unlawful and criminal. And it all culminates up to now the government violating First Amendment, freedom of speech. The government, the FCC, calling a local network and telling them, a private company, calling a private company and telling them to get rid of a comedian because he made fun of the toddler-in-chief and it hurt his little filios over telling the truth. Glossing over that same time period that some asshole on Fox and Friends called for the public execution of homeless people. And then in Minneapolis, that night, I think it was, someone opened fire on 2 homeless encampments, unaliving several homeless people. He still has his job. And you also get the fact of, to this day, even knowing what we know, MAGA is still blaming us. MAGA sees nothing wrong with Jimmy Kimmel getting fired. They don't see that as a First Amendment violation, which is just blows my fucking mind. Because the First Amendment is supposed to protect you from the government prosecuting you and persecuting you for no reason other than they don't like what you have to say about them. When you put yourself in the public eye, you put yourself under a microscope. You choose to do that. If you don't like it, might I suggest people stay the fuck at home and not get in the public eye. Damn sure don't run for president. Of course it was uncalled for and unacceptable. All assassinations are. Anyway, just an odd way of saying this. It really is.